What is going on, guys? This is Jay Morrow, bringing you a replay today between actually two teammates, both from Alternative. This is on Cloud Kingdom, so let's go ahead and jump into it. Spawning down here in the bottom left corner of Cloud Kingdom, we do have Delphi as our pink Zerg. Spawning up here in the top right corner, we do have Socke as our teal Protoss. And I'm sure Socke, the name Socke definitely rings a bell to majority of people who know anything about StarCraft. As far as Delphi goes, though, depending on how long you've been watching StarCraft and how often you watch, you may not have heard this name too often. He definitely competes. I would say close to as much as Socke can. I'm sure he tries to get into every tournament he possibly can get into, but he definitely hasn't had the same recognition that his teammate Socke has had. Socke, a European Protoss, actually German, does some pretty interesting things, especially considering, some of the European playstyles. Some of the European Protoss have done some pretty interesting things. When a lot of people were going for the quick forge expands, some of the European Protoss were opting to go for gate expands and doing different things like that, opting to actually sacrifice, the defensives early, taking a bit of a risk and actually outpaying with, a really quick gateway, good tech, along with a decent defense. So overall, it's a little bit different, but it might as well work. I'm just going to turn that sound real quick here. But, so this is Cloud Kingdom. We've seen this a lot as far as the PvZ goes. And the metagame has shifted drastically. A lot of people are expecting, well, since we saw parting play at WCS, we're going to see pretty much Immortal all-ins every single game. And that may be true in, major tournaments. But as far as, playing often, learning new strategies, you have to keep up with the metagame. And a player like Socke, with how good he is, he's had some really good results in the last 12 months that, definitely have made him a serious competitor in major tournaments. He has to keep up with the metagame. He has to be able to, fluctuate. He has to be able to learn new builds and as well discover new builds. And a player like Socke definitely has the capability to do so. Going over Delphi space, it looks like we do have a hatchery actually going down after the spawning pool. Of course, the spawning pool is just about done, so we are going to be able to get a quick queen out here. And, this is kind of interesting. Let's take a look at Socke has right now. He does have the gateway on the high ground, along with the Cybernetics core that do create a full wall-off. So if he's in a little bit of trouble, he can get that quick zealot out if he needs to, or he can just get it out in general. And now he is going to drop a pylon on the ground, and what is he going to use this for? Well, he could actually drop a forge at this point, or he could drop extra gateways and be completely fine as well. Taking a look at the drone count, 19 probes versus 15 drones. And it looks like we do have 4 Zerglings on the map. Not going to do a whole lot. There actually is still a probe in the main, so Socke is going to get a little more scouting information before he does get taken out here. These Zerglings should be able to clean up, especially since they are, in fact, on creep. The first Stalker is on the way for Socke, and this is a good timing for him. He's going to have the Zealot out. He's going to have a Stalker out. This one Zealot alone, especially at a Watchtower where he has this gap here, where he can kind of hide his Zealot at, he has a very high survivability rate just because he's not going to die to 4 Zerglings unless he gets caught out in the open. And Delphi does some crazy good micro. The Zealot now streaming across the map is heading over to the Watchtower. One of the Zerglings does take a couple hits from the Zealot, excuse me. And now the Nexus is coming down. The Overlord in a really good spot. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. We'll see how well does the Stalker do here. It looks like it's actually going to target down the front. Zergling, actually no. Socke missing a step. He could have actually taken out, I believe, at least one of these Zerglings here, but actually messes it up just a little bit. Not the end of the world. 25 minerals that Delphi definitely wants to keep. What I was going to say before is if you take a look at this Overlord here, of course Socke cannot see this, but this Overlord placement is so beautiful, especially for the early game. All 3 Zerglings are going to make it out safely, do not worry. And it looks like a Queen is actually going to go over towards the 3rd, or maybe just to try and fight the Zealot here. The Zealot versus Queen, of course the Queen will win this battle, I believe, as long as there are no additional, as long as the Stalker does not come over with it. Queen does back up to the creep because he doesn't want to risk getting caught out of position. You really don't want to lose a Queen this early on. And it looks like the Zealot's going to start target firing down the drone. And this Zealot is being very annoying by Socke. Just trying to frustrate his opponent as much as possible. The first Zergling goes down very quickly. And now it looks like the drone is going to head over to the 3rd location and try and get an expansion off. But now look at this. The Queen is caught off creep. So this Zealot along with the Stalker are going to start taking down the Queen. And all these Zerglings are incredibly low. It looks like another Zergling is going to fall. The Queen actually is in a little bit of trouble here. Do not walk off creep here. You could be in a lot of trouble. The Queen down to 65 HP. Of course, speed is only halfway done. Queen down to 48 HP, and now actually target firing down to 40 HP. This is very risky. Socke actually returning home, but look how many Zerglings he's forced out of his opponent. 13 Zerglings are now on the field, and if we look, it's 30 drones 30 probes to 31 drones. So very nice done by Socke, eating up a lot of the larvae. He actually has 6 larvae available right now, and he just now took his 3rd. Back home, it looks like Socke is actually getting a robotics facility, along with a couple extra sentry. It looks like he already has 2 on the field with a 3rd one coming out. These Zerglings are not going to be able to do anything. Speed is just about done, but again, oh, wow. Delphi actually, thankfully, Socke did not double force field, but actually killing off 1 more Zergling here, and now looks like Socke is just going to focus on chrono boosting as many units, or excuse me, as many probes out as he possibly can. Looks like the Zerglings are grouping up, heading over to the 3rd, but they're not going to be able to do a whole lot. There is a Roach Horn on the way, and it looks like Delphi is trying to macro up as best he can. The weakened Queen actually down at the 3rd. That's a little bit of trouble, I feel like, just because, you know, this Queen's all the way over here. This is one of the 2 points that is more than likely going to get hit by Socke if he does the timing. I would say this has the highest priority in Sokke's mind. Sokke's base, we do have a double forge going down, and right now it looks like the Zerglings are streaming into the front, trying to distract. It looks like what he's trying to do is pull kind of like, pull the sentries away to force Socke not to have any defenses up, and then at the same time, you know, actually run in with the Zerglings. Lair is on the way for Delphi. He's currently sitting on, I believe, 3 gas geysers, but he's only mining from 2. It looks like he did pull drones into the 3rd one. So currently sitting on 3 gas geysers. There's still the Zerglings floating around over here, just making sure. I'm guessing that there's no Warp Prism going by, but that's not the case at all. It looks like Socke is going to go for 1-1, trying to chrono boost both out at the same time. And based on his army composition right now, up to 5 sentry, I feel like, actually 7 sentry, excuse me, I feel like Socke is looking to expand here. He just wants to try and get a quick 3rd here. He's going to have good tech available to him. He's got the robotics facility. He does not have a robotics bay, but of course he has the defensive units. He has the sentry. He's going to have a 2nd observer coming out, and it looks like he's actually getting a photon cannon for the front, and Socke actually now moving out to the front of his base. No immortals are on the field right now, so it looks like Socke is going to take a 3rd. He does have 600 minerals available. And his opponent is actually going for, it looks like he's going to try and block this off. But Delphi's not going to be able to do a whole lot here. There are a ton of sentries here, and it looks like they might target fire down the probe. Very nicely done by Delphi, and actually escaping with the majority of the Zerglings. And right now, Delphi's actually getting a Hydralisk Den, along with an Overseer, and it looks like he's getting extra gas geysers as well. The last two Zerglings, ooh, missed force field by Socke. Not a huge deal. He has so much energy built up. But it looks like Socke is actually now opting to get a couple of Immortals out. With this Hydralisk Den, we should see a timing coming out from Delphi. Most people don't really just get a Hydralisk Den just to have the tech out. They usually end up doing something with it, and I don't see, you know, a creep highway come by anytime soon. But it looks like Socke is still on the defensive foot, knows exactly what's going on from his opponent. The sentry are in good position. If we actually could get a couple of force fields here, this would be very, very nice. Oh, another slip up by Socke, letting a couple units fall by. Not the end of the world, but it definitely does hurt. 10 Hydralisks are on the way, along with the grooved, what's it called? Grooved spines. I was thinking that, but I was thinking it was something crazy with all the Zerg names. But we do have 14 Hydralisks in production, currently sitting with 3 roaches on the field. Does he have +1 for these? I don't even think he does. No, it looks like he does not have any upgrades for this. He is getting +1 melee weapons, though, so that will definitely help him out, I guess, with all these Hydralisks. But it looks like actually Delphi's going to try and push on the 3rd here. And you know, what I want to know is how much information does Socke have, and it doesn't look like a whole lot. The last couple of sentries, or excuse me, a sentry did get taken down over here at the 3rd base, and now Delphi is flooding in a bit here, and all Socke has is Sentry Immortal, and Immortals do okay against Hydralisks, but it's nothing crazy. It looks like this roach is going to get targeted down real quick, but Socke is in a pretty good spot now. He has 2 Immortals out, a ton of sentries. With a couple of Warpens, I feel like he could defend against this. Of course, these Hydralisks do actually have Groove Spines, and they are going to have a pretty high count. We're going up to actually 30 Hydralisks at the 12-minute mark. And here we go. Delphi walking up the ramp here, going to target fire down. I believe the cannon, hopefully. Yeah, the cannon does go down. Going to target fire down this gateway before it can be morphed. And now Delphi really needs to spread out here. He has a really, really good arc and needs to keep this as much as possible so that Socke isn't able to, force field this fight away. And it looks like that's exactly what Socke is going to do. Of course, with the Groove Spines, the Hydralisks do so much damage at a range of 6 versus the Sentry's range of 5. Immortals have a range of 6 as well. So it looks like the Hydralisks do win the battle for today. They're going to focus down the Nexus, and it looks like a Baneling Nest and a Spire coming down as well. So following this up, oh, I see what he's trying to do. He's trying to force Socke into a position where he has to get Colossi. Oh, nice force field, trapping a couple units off. He's trying to force Socke into a position where he has to get Colossus out, and then once he has that, he's already going to have the gas, he's already going to have the tech available to go ahead and start building the Corruptors. And wow, that guy got sandwiched against the wall, couldn't even get away there. But it looks like Delphi's going to move around the map a little bit. He already has a 4th completed. Of course, the War Prism here is doing a lot of help, and it looks like, oh, if he doesn't micro these Hydralisks properly, he could actually lose a majority of them, but no, it looks like he's actually going to be able to micro this, and the War Prism is not going to be able to do a whole lot just because the Hydralisk DPS is so high that they tear apart War Prisms very, very quickly. The only thing I'm confused about is the Baneling Nest. I understand the Spire, but I don't understand the Baneling Nest at all. I guess we'll have to see how he uses it. I just feel like he's going to be stretching himself very thin, but no, actually transitioning to Mutalisk. Very, very interesting. Surprisingly, Socke is actually getting Blink at this point as well, so that's definitely going to come into play for him. And it looks like, oh, Socke actually catching a couple of units off guard from Delphi, and now Delphi's trying to run on the map, scout out to see how many bases is his opponent at, and Socke is in a little bit of an awkward spot. He's only on 2 bases, trying to take a 3rd base. Oh, some force fields catching a couple units off of, or out of position, and actually off creep as well. As long as Delphi's able to stay on creep, I feel like he can win this engagement very, very easily, but with the number of Mutalisks that are coming out and the Zerglings coming out, I feel like there could be a huge surround along with the target fire from the Mutalisks, and Socke is in a lot of trouble here, needs to get back home, but I don't think Delphi's going to let that happen. Here come the Zerglings streaming in, the Mutalisks on top of that, going to target fire down the Sentry, and the Sentry actually wall off majority of units, but the Hydralisks have such good range. They are starting to target fire. The last few Sentries are going to get targeted down very, very quickly. Only 3 left, 1 with full energy, 1 with about half energy, and now Socke returning home. 5 more Mutalisks are in production. That'll put us up to about 18. Very, very nice tech switch from Delphi. Surprisingly, you know, I'm not normally a big fan of people tech switching back and forth between Mutalisk and mid-game tech like Hydralisk, but Delphi seems to have done it very, very comfortably. This allows him to punish his opponent for going for the quick Colossus tech, and may actually prevent him from taking up this 3rd base. And there are a ton of Zerglings here. Are we going to see Banelings? It doesn't look like it, but now Socke knows what's up. He's heading over there right now, and it looks like, oh, actually not paying attention. Delphi getting a full surround, and all these units here, the Colossi aren't able to get the full arc that they need available, but it doesn't look like it matters. Delphi is going to get cleaned up very, very quickly, and +1 weapons is on the way, but at the same time, Delphi running up this ramp here, this is very, very risky by him. Could actually get force fielded off, and it looks like no, but the Colossi are now going to come in here and play a lot, or excuse me, do a lot of damage, take out majority of the Hydralisk, throwing away a lot of tech there from Delphi. Little bit of a misstep, doesn't want to throw things away like that, and it looks like at the same time he did try and push on the back of the natural, but Delphi was thwarted on both fronts, and now Delphi doesn't have amazing tech right now. It looks like there's a couple of Zealots in the main, going to target down that Queen. Queen already restarted, very nicely done by Delphi, and now the Mutalisks are going to fly around and clean this up. But here's the awkward situation. He doesn't really have any crazy upgrades. He has 1/1 for his ground units for the Zerglings. He's going to get +1 for the Mutalisks, but he doesn't have, you know, anything towards the later stages of the game. He doesn't have an infestation pit. And oh, looks like the Mutalisks are going to fly in here and actually start getting target fire down. If Delphi could clean up majority of the Colossi with the Mutalisks, he could actually do quite a bit of damage. There are only a little bit of energy left on the Sentry, so only a couple of force fields are available. If he could actually pencil this in very, very nicely, I think Delphi can take this engagement. There's only 1 Colossus here, and it looks like Delphi is actually forced to engage here. Here come the Banelings, nice blinks back and forth from Socke. The force fields do go down, but they're not doing a whole lot right now. Mutalisks targeting down the Colossi, and here come the Banelings erupting all over majority of the Stalkers. The Stalkers are starting to target fire down the Mutalisks. 141 supply to the 116 of Socke. It looks like 10 more Zerglings are in production, and he retained a bit of the Mutalisk pile here, but it looks like the rest of the units of Socke are going to blink back home, and now Delphi's moving in for the kill, trying to do as much damage as he possibly can, but it's not going to happen. Actually, Socke forced to engage before his Zerg flyer attack was able to finish off here, and it looks like Socke is going to be able to take down this 4th base. Very nice move from Delphi, actually taking the side expansion over here. You know, something to note, that's something you should always be doing on Cloud Kingdom. When you think you're going to lose your base, expand to the other side. That's a very, very nice rule of thumb, especially in a PvZ. But it looks like Delphi actually missed routing a couple of units here. He's going to try one last engagement here, and I feel like Socke has a really good army here, but he doesn't have any more force fields available. Going to target down the last Colossi very, very quickly here. 8 more Zerglings Star Protection, 4 more Mutalisks, and can Delphi clean this up? 143 supply to 112. A ton of Stalkers are on the field right now. 21, not actually at that critical mass, but I don't think it matters. Going to clean up the last of the Mutalisks here, and I think Socke may have done it. Another wave of Stalkers are coming in, and Delphi getting completely cleaned up. It looks like Socke is going to take the game. Well played from Delphi, so very, very nicely done by Delphi. I thought he may have been able to hold there, but it just wasn't enough. He didn't have the infestors that he needed to start fungling down these units, especially for the Baneling connects. But Socke just taking the game, just putting his foot forward and saying, you know what, enough's enough. I'm going to push on you, and I know you don't have enough to defend this. So very, very well played. I really, really enjoyed this game, and I at least hope you enjoyed my casting. Of course, I am Jay Morrow. You can follow me on Twitter and on YouTube under Jay Morrow Pro. Please let me know what you think. Leave me a comment. You know, follow me on Twitter. Say, hey, what's going on? Just say hi, and I'd really appreciate any feedback. So thank you very much for tuning in.